welcome back. We got a huge reaction last week to our report on vaccine passports, back by popular demand. Author of the new book, The End of America, a letter of warning to a young patriot, Dr. Naomi. Naomi, honestly, I don't think I've seen a reaction to anything we've done compared to what we saw from what you had to say last Sunday. And it was really exciting to see how it's been taken up all over the place. What have you seen in those days since you spoke on our show last Sunday? Where do you think this campaign against this terrible idea, where does it stand right now?
Great question. Thank you for having me back, Steve, and thank you to everyone who showed their support with the response. I saw what you saw. I think there were 950,000 views online alone on Twitter of the clip. I've gotten hundreds and hundreds of emails from people saying, how can I help? Thank you for calling attention to this danger. And also, depressingly, but not surprisingly, attacks in the LA Times, in Slate, and Twitter has made my tweets sensitive, at least for some users. So it's definitely a hot button issue, but a lot has happened since we spoke. The Biden administration seems to be backpedaling a bit in a waffly way and saying, well, now it's not the government that's going to impose these vaccine passports, even though they had rolled it out before the outrage and distress that followed the announcement, at least from our quarters. And also they've said, well, we're going to leave it to the private industry, to the private sector to do that, which is completely illegal. It's against, as I said last time, the Americans with Disabilities Act. It's against the First Amendment, the Fourth Amendment. It's wholly illegal. It's like saying, we'll just let private industry discriminate against Americans based on their biological characteristics, which was exactly what Nazi Germany did. So that's very disturbing. And I've also had emails from people saying they work, for instance, in the hospitality sector. And one woman sent me something from Nevada that event spaces are saying we're going to roll out our own private version of the vaccine passport. So basically, the Biden administration, in a very craven way, in my view, handed over the thumbs up to the private sector, which was going to do it anyway, and is opening the door to our lives being managed and constrained and switched on and switched off in terms of our entry into society, as I said last time, by Microsoft, Salesforce, and the private industry that wants to have the contracts for these tyrannical apps.
And it's actually, there's a connection between the two aspects of that, because both in the case of the actual implementation of this really frightening authoritarian idea, but also the censorship that you're experiencing for your campaign against it. In both cases, what you're seeing is the government kind of outsourcing its dirty work, whether that's doing the vaccine passports in reality or the censoring of ideas. And there's no accountability. At least if the government was doing it, there's some notion of accountability. When you outsource it to the private sector, that's gone. In a way, it's more insidious, isn't it?
Well, I think you're raising an incredibly important point, Steve. Most people assume, reasonably enough, that if they get a vaccine passport that Governor Cuomo, my tyrannical governor, or President Biden, for whom I voted, gave the thumbs up, that it's going to be overseen by HIPAA law, which means my medical details and information and history are private, and that it will be kept confidential, and that my data won't be sold. But that's simply not the case. These vaccine passports in Britain, COVID data is owned essentially by private companies like Palantir, like Amazon has a contract, Microsoft has a contract, Google. When I sign in to get a swab for a COVID test, Google gets my data. When you read the terms and conditions, ordinarily, you get to see who gets your data and agree to it. But with these apps, for the vaccine passport, you don't get to agree. You're forced to do it. So all your data, and most people think, what's wrong with that? And I explained this a little bit last time. Everywhere you go, everyone you meet with, the money coming in digitally to your Google Wallet or your Apple Pay account or PayPal, your digital paycheck, if we go that route, all of it is being swept up by third parties who can then sell it to people who aren't even our friends. They can sell it to China, they can sell it to Russia, they can sell it to Saudi Arabia, but they can also switch you off and on depending on your social credit score, what you said online, just like I'm being deplatformed again, whether you use the word conservative or liberal, whether you use the words pro-choice or pro-life, whether you use the words, you know, the riff you just did about cancel culture, even though I'd love to debate with you about it because I don't agree with you on all of it, that could dial both of us up or down if a few simple tweaks were added, a few simple functionalities were added to the vaccine passport.
Wow. I mean, it's so frightening. You know what it all reminds me of? You laid it out so clearly. One of the people on Twitter responding to your remarks last week said very clearly, said, "This is the big one, folks. This is the hill to die on." And you've really laid out why that's so true again tonight, Naomi. We really appreciate you joining us, and we'll stay on it and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.